Today, we're going to hear from a true pioneer of the Canadian stunt industry. As an advocate for the community of performers in British Columbia, Jacob Rupp has helped establish the foundation for a thriving stunt scene. His contributions have been instrumental in shaping the industry as we know it today. Some even credit him as being the first Canadian stuntman recognized by Hollywood. Join us as we delve into the inspiring story of Jacob Rupp.
UBCP, Stunt Archives, and I am Jacob Rupp.
Tell us about your childhood.
Well, I grew up in North Vancouver. We lived up Upper Lonsdale, 26. I went to North Star School, then to Belmore School, and then I went, high school was Carson Graham.
What kind of sports did you play as a kid?
Track and field. I did 100-meter hurdles and 400-meter hurdles. I did some high jumping and played soccer.
So did you take any drama or theater during high school?
It was in grade 11. I decided to take a theater course. And in the theater course, we had a guest speaker. His name was Bill Richardson. And he came and he was going to all the schools because he was going to do a night school course in stunts, in stunt fighting and stuff. So that's where I first got introduced to the stunt industry.
So what else did you do in high school?
I had a landscaping company in grade 11, and I think one person working with me or two, depending on the jobs. And then, that's basically how I paid my way to pay my bills and my apartment and stuff like that.
How was your time at university?
Yeah, that was quite an experience. It was about 2 years after I graduated from Carson Graham, and I applied to a course which was called Corporate and Educational Media, because I had to take some prerequisite courses before I got into it. I took Women, Men in Transition, and Early Childhood Development. And then the course I took was a 2-year program, but you got credited for 4 years. So you were taking like five courses a semester.
And during this time, you started getting some stunt work?
Yeah, I was very fortunate that I got to do some work on beach combers and a couple other things. I can't really remember what they were, but it was good. Yeah, then I guess first feature I worked on was Harry Tracy Desperado. And Walter Scott was the stunt coordinator on that. He was an old-time cowboy, hit the ground hard type of guy. Big guy. He was, hands were twice the size of mine.
Who were some of the first performers and coordinators you met?
Around that time?
Yeah.
We were doing our live shows. Maplewood Farm in North Vancouver. Alex and John Wardlow came out to see one of our shows. I talked with them, and then Alex invited me down to his office in Gastown, and I went down and spent a couple hours talking to him, and Alex did know how to talk. And then the first paid job I got other than the live shows was a picture called Upriver. John Wardlow's girlfriend was working on non-union pictures, so they couldn't take it because they were union members at this time. So they sent me up to Barkerville as a stuntman and stunt coordinator for my first job. So it was good. I got shot off a roof, and then I had to tackle, I can't remember his name. I think it's the only time he worked, but I had to tackle him off a horse as he rode past one of the boardwalks. And that was it. That was my start.
Wow, trial by fire, eh?
Yeah, not quite.
So what was your experience like working with U.S. performers?
Oh, well, Joe Canut. I met him on Motherload, and I ended up doing, I think, 3 or 4 pictures with him. He took me to Treasure Island. Joe Canut was the son of Yakima Canut. He was also the driver of the chariot in Ben-Hur. So there was some incredible stories.
Tell us about meeting Charlton Heston.
Yeah, That's the first time I met Joe too. So we were, at the time, we were battling at the border, trying to secure jobs for Canadians. So we'd been fighting. They wanted to bring Dar Robinson in to fall down an 80-foot shaft. And it was on a capstan, not a descender. And a capstan, if people don't know, it has a brake on it. So you're watching for the tape to come down, and then the effects guy puts the brake on. So it was 80 feet, and it was about, I guess, I can't remember the size of the tunnel, but it was about 8 by 8. But anyways, so I'm walking into there after we'd been, Sean Heston was, talking to the union and complaining about not getting what he wanted. And so they sent me down to talk to them because they wanted them to at least interview some Canadians for the job. So I get to the Bridge Studios, and I'm walking in, and he's walking towards me. It's Charlton Heston and a whole entourage of people. That's when I first met Tony Morelli. He was, standing for Charlton Heston. So he's walking to me and he goes, hey, who are you? I didn't want to tell my name. So I said, okay, swallowed, and said, hi, I'm Jacob Rupp. He goes, well, welcome to our set. And he walked past. Then I walk over and I meet Joe Canutt. I mean, like, here's one of, an idol. He's like, he's old school. He's knock you down, get back up type of guy. Well, we're talking, and he goes, well, have you ever done this before? I said, no, I haven't. But, I'm very confident that I can do it and can make it work for you. He goes, well, I don't know. And I just went being a little cocky. I went, well, I'll tell you what. Let me give it a go. And if you don't like what I do or think that I can't do it, then you can bring whoever you want in. He goes, well, let me think about that. Well, I'll get back to you. So I left. By the time I got home, there's already a call on my answering service, because we only had pagers back then, to come in for wardrobe fitting. So I went in for the wardrobe fitting. The next day, I went into set, got in my wardrobe, got hooked up on a cable and started falling down the shaft. There's a metal staircase that went to the top. And so what I did was every time I got down and got unhooked, I'd run all the way up the stairs. I mean, I was running quite a bit. I was running like 5 miles a day at that time. So I thought, no, I'll probably just show off here and get up there. Well, as the day went on, I was running up the stairs, a little slower by that time. And then I got to about the top 2 flights of stairs, and I could hear Joe's voice. Okay, roll cameras. I still haven't got hooked up yet, so I have to sprint up the last little bit. I get hooked up and boom, drop me away. And you can hear the cameras, like high-speed cameras, just wailing. So we did that quite a few times. And then I had to fall down part of the shaft, like free fall. And it was, I guess it was 3 blocks as high. It was about, the bottom of the shaft was about 9 feet off the floor. But I had to go down head first, so I had to get my head tucked over to go into the boxes. Well, somebody had tightened up, you usually leave a little space between boxes so they can expand. Well, somebody tightened it up. So when I hit it, I mean, like I was knocked out. I was going to get up, and Tony Morelli, we'd been talking back and forth over the last little bit there, and he started laughing, and I'm looking at him, and he started wobbly a bit. And he just takes one finger and pushes me. And I just went, bloop, boom, onto my back on the boxes. And he was laughing his head off, and so was Joe. Tony said, yeah, I can still remember saying, I've seen that look in people when I've knocked them out. So it was pretty neat.
So you and Joe Canutt became friends. Did you work on anything else with him?
Here's another one. Golden Seal. Tony and I worked on it. We were over in Victoria, and he dropped us off on an island and said, "Okay, put a fight together." And so we did work for a couple hours, and we'd come back, and he had to take a little boat to get out there, and he'd go, "Nah, I need something to change." So he did that about 5 times, and we finally got the fight down. But we did a lot of stuff in the Capilano River in February. I was in the water for probably about 6 hours, just swimming the rapids. And one of the safety guys was Mike Vizina, and he kept saying, you know, you tell him you shouldn't do this anymore. You're getting pretty exhausted. And I said, I'm fine. So I did it a couple more times, and I get up on the beach, and I'm just like bagged, drank lots of water, and Joe says, okay, we're gonna go again. And I just sat there, and I looked up and I said, not with me, not I. I said, I'm done. And he started laughing at full volume. And he goes, looks at me and goes, I was wondering how goddamn long that would take. That was pretty neat. And then then he doubled Charlton Heston, so he did Treasure Island in Jamaica. So he called me and hired me to do the high fall off the square rigger, because Dar had gone by then. He was friends with Dar. And so he hired me to come down and do the fall. It was 85 feet backwards off a square rigger, and you had to be dead. You couldn't look. So it was now you had to be almost frozen. And once you commit, I couldn't swing my arms. I couldn't get my balance. So I'm up there getting ready to go. And they're taking time to get this camera guy up there. And so I get him up there, and they cover him with some cameras and stuff. Turns out the guy's afraid of heights. So he's up there and he goes, I'm nervous. It's just because I'm afraid of heights. He said, you all right? I said, yeah, it just makes me want to jump when I get this high. And it took them a while to get him down. But anyway, so the gunshot goes off. I get shot and fall out of the mast. We had to lisp the boat over because I would have never got over the deck. So I passed the side railing by about 6 feet and landed at a bit of an angle and just knocked the crap out of me. And I don't know if I could have gone again. But anyways, so Joe was out in the boat, and he comes up to the gangplank, come up on the boat. And so I swing over out of the water, and he's just walking down the deck and doesn't even look at me or say anything. I said, Joe, is everything all right? He goes, turns around, looks at me, goes, you looked, and walks. And I went, well, I can be back up there before you get in that boat. He turned around and he just had the biggest smile on his face. It's good enough. So it was pretty cool.
In such a new industry in BC, how were Canadian performers treated by American productions?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, as a coordinator, the Americans knew their guys, and they're very loyal to their guys. So coming to our country, we had limited amount of experience, so they didn't want to even hire us, But we started to implement some blockage at the border, so that they had to, hire Canadians or consider Canadians. That's how I got in to see Joe. And we had carried a fair bit of weight at the border at one point, which was lost, but that kind of opened the doors for some of the Canadian performers to get more work. One person that was very instrumental in supporting us was Conrad Palmisano. He did, I can't even think how many films he did, 6 or so. But he came up on First Blood and hired, he hired locals. And every picture he came up, he had 1 or 2 people that he wanted to bring up and guaranteed extra work and some extra parts for Canadian people, and fought with the company to make that happen for us. And Rick Seaman was, his car guy, and he was fabulous. He taught me a lot of stuff, and they helped me out a lot.
What were some of the things you did in order to make sure that Canadian performers worked on American productions?
Well, we had a liaison at the border that would get a hold of the stunt committee and present to us a request that the film company had for people that they wanted to bring in. And then we would talk and negotiate with our union, or advise the union of how we felt about those people, or some of those people that were coming in. Some were, legitimate, like doubles for actors had been doubles for them for a while, so we couldn't really fight that too hard. Then we instrumented, one of the big things that we were able to do was to get stunt coordinators in the union. You know, I was making $300 for a 10-hour day as a coordinator. And we had no protection. So I was involved quite heavily in the negotiations with the producers. We were at one meeting, and again, this is after trying this a couple of times. So the union really didn't want to support us either, you know. So I talked to the Teamsters, so they were willing to take us on. Well, at that time, the Teamsters were just, you know, quite a powerhouse in Vancouver. And so we went back sidebar, and we got coordinators in the union.
Who else helped you advocate for BC performers?
Pretty much most people were involved in, you know, trying to help out in some sense. John Wardlow, Keith Wardlow, and Alex Green were sort of in the center of it, and I would consult with them quite a bit. We established the stunt list, and it was to show that we had people that had done stunts up here in Canada. So when we went to immigration, we gave them a list of people that had 6 or more stunt credits, so that we had some credibility. That was a big tool at that time for us to negotiate work for our own people.
What about Dave Milray? Was he around at that time?
He was around at that time, yeah, and then he helped get the stunt list going, and then, as you know, Dave Milray has been diligent in keeping it active right across Canada. That helped a lot.
Tell us about the stunt committee and how that came to be.
The committee was partly formed to deal and negotiate with the union for the influx of Americans and American requests to come to BC. There's so much going on back at that time, I can't really remember who else was involved with me. John Wardlow, there was myself, there was one other person, Mark Akerstream. We didn't like each other when we first met, and then we became friends, and then we were on the committee together and went to Toronto together, and we were trying to get people from all factions of the community at that time. There was Stunts Canada, then there was a bunch of independents. So we formed the committee to better communicate with our union. Because as individuals, we were not getting, you know, the response from the union. That was a big part of the committee, was, you know, interacting with the shop stewards and the union itself. Our community got to a point where we would have meetings about issues or phone each other. We had started to get quite a voting platform from our community at one point. It was a big achievement. I mean, you know, again, we were fighting all the time. It seemed like, you know, when I look back on it, it seems like there was always something on the plate, and hours of spending trying to keep our jobs. You know, it's funny, I can't remember everybody that was on it. I mean, things did change. I believe we started out with people who had 6 or more credits were able to vote on a committee. I think that's how it began. I'd have to get back to you on that one.
What are some characteristics you think a stunt performer should have?
Characteristics. All stunt people are competitive, you know, and I think that's a big thing. All the stunt people are athletes, you know, in some form. Our job is you have to be you can't be a sous chef, you have to be an all-round chef, you know. So when we were started, nobody really specialized in anything. You had to know how to do everything. Stuntmen learn from stuntmen, or stunt people. And, and qualities is just, you know, endurance. You know, it's a hard business, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and, you know, you got to have the passion.
What do you love about the stunt industry?
I loved being able to create an illusion. Nobody gets hurt, you know, hit the ground or do something, and people are just standing there going, Okay, we're going again. And you go, no, no. It was fun. There's a couple of times where they said cut, and I didn't really get up as fast as I should have. And so that kind of gets people going. I was doing a stair fall. I don't know if you guys have seen the picture of me going down a curved set of stairs. Makeup person's putting the stuff on and shaking, going, hey, you'll be all right. I think you're fine. So I do the fall down around the corner, and it was only like, gotta be maybe 3 feet wide at the most. Get to the bottom, I'm face down, and they go cut. I'm sitting there going, cut, Jacob, you all right? You all right? And so I get up, I go, yeah. The director's just like, are you all right? I said, yeah. Do you want to see it again? He just grabbed me, just went, I'm covered in blood, and now he's covered in blood. He said, no, we don't see that again. It was pretty cool.
Short time, top 10 best car chase scenes in film, and you were a part of that. What did you do?
God. Well, we started the chase on the New Westminster Highway. It was not open. He'd been chasing me for a bit, and I remember one day, and no, this is Rick Seaman. So he's behind me, and we're swerving between cars, and I look, and he's just like off to the side. So I guess car's wheel alignment was out or something, and he went right across his field and into a big ditch. He was fine, I mean, covered in mud, but it was, that kind of put me on. I was kind of, well, this Rick Seaman lost it, and later on in the film I did the same thing, but I hit a tree. But we did, the chase is all done at speed. I mean, we were doing 80 plus. It was, it was a big step for me. I mean, I'd worked with Rick before that driving, but he was so, like right on, like perfection. And we're doing 80 miles an hour, and I'm whipping over through the pillars. Now we're in oncoming traffic. So we're dicing in there, so they wanted to change a little bit, so they did. And then, I don't know if it was me or Tony or what so I hit Tony and put him up on a railing and kept driving. And they had other cars, so they were fine.
Any other memorable gags that stand out?
Oh, God, what was that show? I did a picture called Indestructible Man. Gary McClarty was the coordinator. I was coordinating on it. Also was doubling the lead on the show. One of the stunts I had to do was jumping onto a moving semi-truck. The truck was doing 28 miles an hour, and I was on a block, and I had to run and time to get to the top of the truck. And then I hit on the truck. I was supposed to get up there and jump to the cab, but I'd broke my leg, and I thought I just twisted my leg, so they had to keep on shooting with second unit. So they started taking my wardrobe off on top of the truck before they put me in a stretcher. And who was there to take my job but J.J. McEnroe? He put the wardrobe on and then did the jump from the truck to the cab, and then climbed around and pulled the truck driver out into his truck. Yeah, I spent the day up there. They had a lawn chair and stuff, and it was fun.
Would you say that was your worst injury?
Nope, no. I think the worst one I had was, what was it, Cabin of the North? Anyways, it was lunchtime, and they want to get a quick shot of, and they didn't see my face stuff, so me sliding down a tree that had a fake tree with branches, and sort of Connie sort of hit the branches and break off to the ground. So I'm up, starting at about 18 feet, I think. So we start to go and hit once, and then I sort of feel like going back, and I look up, and my rope is loose. The bolt at the top had a flaw in it, and it broke. So now I'm laying out at pretty much this angle, falling 16 feet to blacktop. So I just squeezed my butt cheeks really tight together and put my arms up around my head, and I hit on the blacktop. I'm flat on my back, as if I just treated it as if I was going to an airbag or something, you know. and it just knocked the tar out of me. And all I could see is the pavement just like it waves. And like I said, people were talking to me, trying to keep me awake, and I don't know who they were. So anyways, they take me down to the hospital. By now, I've had like 3 shots of morphine from the paramedics, and I didn't even know I had any. Just soft tissue damage, but boy, it took quite a few months.
Cool Runnings, a personal favorite movie of mine, and you coordinated that. What was that like?
It was one of my favorite shows. The director was a bit of a dick, John Turtledove. I can only say that because he was a dick. We had a great relationship. I can tell you stories about him, but Cool Running was great. The cast was wonderful. John Candy was a sweetheart. You know. He had a bodyguard that kept him away from craft service all the time. But he was so much fun. Really a genuine guy. And you know, I had a good set of dowels, and we shot in Calgary, and got to ride the bobsled, probably about 30 times, and then we went down to Jamaica, and because Jamaica, so there's like 15 people from the network were down there for a meeting, and so they said, "Well, John, how do you plan to shoot this and get the actors into the scene? What's your plan?" We talked a little bit back, and he goes, "Well," he said, let me pass you over to Jacob. We've talked extensively about this, and he's probably the best person to explain to you what our plan is." Well, we hadn't talked about it. So I'm sitting there going, okay. So I went and spilled off a bunch of stuff, and I said, yeah, and then I'd probably put my camera, we're going to probably put the cameras here and here, which was all bullshit. We never did it anyways. And we had Dave Millery was there driving one of the carts with the actor's name, I think it was Sanka. And so he was inside the cart, and so we had the actor driving down the other Jamaican cart races. Well, the first day we're there, we were getting all set up, and cameras were getting the cart for David to give it a try with no actor on it, just a stunt guy in the back. And the Jamaican guys are getting ready, and they're sitting up top, and they're going like smoking doobies like that big up there. Okay, now they're going to race down the hill. And so somebody asked them, not to smoke pot. They just, well, man, we'll just go home. So they ended up doing a great job, and nobody crashed, and it was good.
Looking back at your career, what are some of the highlights?
Yeah, I'm alive. That's a big thing. That makes me very happy. I think, like we had talked about before, getting stunt coordinators in the union was a big thing. Our community getting respect from Americans, and being able to play more on an equal ground, which I think, some of our performers have gone international and have worked in Europe and England places. So I think we've got a pretty good reputation in Canada with some great talented people, and a lot of new talent coming up too. It's a little different now than when we were. There was a lot of politics and fighting when we were getting started. I mean, a lot of trying to get our feet on the ground.
What's a valuable lesson that you would like to pass on to the next generation of performers?
Probably one of the hardest things that a stunt person will face is being able to say no. To say, I don't feel comfortable doing the stunt this way, and you can talk and try and find a way to work around it. I've had that happen with people that work for me, and they say, well, it just doesn't feel right, just not the way I move. Everybody moves differently and stuff, but, or if they get in a position where they just want to prove themselves, that's when people get hurt. You got to have the ability to know what your limitations are and to have the courage to say no. I think is what is very important for me to say that.
I'm sure you made sacrifices during your career.
Yeah, my whole career, you know. Family, friends, you know. We'd work 5-6 days a week, spend another day Sundays doing paperwork for, you know, the union or the stunt committees and planning, you know, strategies. So yeah, it was all consuming, all consuming. There's a lot of times I should have said no, and instead of we're so hungry to get to the next job that, you know, we'd cancel plans. You know, it's like, oh no, I got another show. I got to take it. I got to take it. I got to do this job. I have to work. You know, and it was frantic back then because it you know, when I got started, we maybe had one feature film a year.
What are some differences you see between the community then and the community now?
Well, they have a lot more opportunities. Let's talk about women. You know, when I got started, there was one woman around, Betty Thomas. You couldn't find anybody else. You know, nobody really was interested, knew that it was even possible to do. And John Wardle and Keith Wardle were called a lot of times to double women. You know, now we have, you know, when I started coordinating, I would not hire a guy to double a girl. You know, it was, I would go look for somebody before I put a guy in there. But now, I mean, there's such a roster of talented people out there. And, you know, I think some of them, I've met some of them that take it for granted, you know, and just think that it's always been like this. No, you know, the battles that were fought, yeah, I can't even go into, you know, how many times I went to Toronto and Calgary. And, yeah, just, it's different. They're very fortunate that they have the industry, and the union is more respectful to our people. Also, the producers, the production managers, it's a whole different environment. I did Smallville for a number of years, and I wasn't allowed to have an assistant. You know, now, which is very needed. I actually started having one or two people help me out on occasion, and that was sort of how we broke it in. And the union didn't want to really deal with it because we had to set a pay scale for the people that were helping me. So what we did is we put them on a stunt contract with no buyout. And so that was sort of okay with the producers and stuff. But the union had a problem with it, and they were like, well, I don't know if we can do that. And so we had to fight through that, and then we got, so that they were there, and then we got riggers that started to come into our union. That was a big battle between IATSE effects guys and stunt riggers, so that we got those guys in.
Is there a single defining moment in your career that made you think, I made it?
Yes, I was thinking about that the other day, and I think when I worked on Superman 3, I thought, wow, a big feature, it's a Superman movie. So yeah, that was a reassuring moment.
If you had any other messages for future stunt performers, what would that be?
I think know your history, know the people. I mean, know where it started before me. I mean, Yakima Canutt, you know, I've said that name to some people before. I go, well, who's he? You know, is he working on a film up here? I just think they have to be more involved. I mean, maybe I'm not in the community as much anymore. The majority of the people I've met, the new people, God, I love them. They're just, you know, they're wonderful, they're personable, and talented, you know. And it's you know, it's a team sport.